let's focus on some of the most tricky questions for your NEET 2021 paper, and this section would be focusing on zoology. So the very first question that we have here is, which of the following RNA is not required for the synthesis of protein? Now here, since it is a question on RNA, we need to understand the basic requirements here. mRNA, tRNA and rRNA all are part of the synthesis of protein. However, what is siRNA? siRNA is a small interfering RNA, and a small interfering RNA, it is also known as the silencing RNA. So this silencing RNA is basically a double-stranded RNA, first of all, and it has non-coding RNA molecule, another important characteristic of it. So this does not take part in the synthesis of protein. However, messenger RNA, transfer RNA and the rRNA, all of those, which is the structural RNA, take part in the synthesis of protein. So here one would be the right option. Now note, most of the questions which are asked here are directly from your NCERT's. Very simple, very direct questions. Succus entericus is referred to what? This is an intestinal juice. Now this is a very important question. We have covered this in our class 11th biology NCERT videos, which are already available here. This video on digestive systems. Now what is chyme? Chyme is the acidic food which is present in the stomach. Pancreatic juice released by the pancreas, and gastric juice released in the stomach by the basically the gastric gland. So those are the other choices. So here the correct answer is intestinal juice. A very direct and a basic question again. The next question is, what is biofortification of crop and why is it important? So biofortification basically improves the vitamin content. So it can be in the form of micronutrients, mineral contents, protein content or vitamin content. All of those would be the right answer. It has nothing to do with the resistance. Even when we talk about biofortified milk, for example, we say it is enriched with vitamin D or calcium. So here we are just improving the content quality. We are not talking about resistance of it to any disease. So 3 is the option here. Since it's asking not an objective, we have 3 as the answer here. The next question talks about a very basic question. Now, in the interphase stage of mitosis, if the number of chromosomes in the G1 phase is 8, what would be the number of chromosomes after S phase if the fruit fly has 8 chromosomes, which is 2n in each of the cells? Now, S phase is the phase where what happens? As we all know, it is the phase of duplication of DNA. We have covered this in our very fundamental classes on the cycles of mitosis, where we have talked about the S, G1, G2 phases in detail. Now, so here the amount of DNA would increase, but the number of chromosomes would remain the same. Very important. So here what is asked in the question, don't get confused, it is 8 chromosomes. It's not asking about the DNA. Since S phase is the phase of duplication of DNA, if it was about DNA, we would say duplication of DNA takes place. But since it's about chromosomes, the number of chromosomes would remain the same. So your answer would be 8 only. Very important question. The next question is, so sometimes you have application based questions. Dobson unit, a very important unit recently in use these days, and this is to measure the thickness of the ozone layer. So 1 DU or the Dobson unit is known as 1 ppb. The lowermost layer is the troposphere. Above that we have the stratosphere. Stratosphere is the layer where you have presence of ozone, and then we have CFCs, which are ozone depleting substances. Now if this ozone is present in the stratosphere, it protects against the harmful ultraviolet rays. However, if the same ozone is present in troposphere, it acts as a pollutant. Clear? So all those are general information that we have discussed about ozone. We have talked about ozone depleting substances in detail on the Exam Race YouTube channel, and the detailed explanations to these questions are available in the Doorstep Tutor website. The next is, which enzyme is responsible for conversion of inactive fibrogens into fibrins? Now, inactive fibrogens to fibrins are converted through thrombin. Now, thrombin basically converts the fibrogens to fibrins, which is the network of threads. Now, what are the different options which are given here? Let's understand those as well. So, thrombokinase, it is mainly during the coagulation. This helps in converting the prothrombin into thrombin. So, prothrombin converted into thrombin during the process of coagulation by thrombokinase. Renin is secreted by the GJ cells, and this is basically in response to the fall in the glomerular blood flow and converts the antinogenesin into angiotensinogen into angiotensin. So converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Clear? So this is what is the role of renin. And then we have epinephrine. So epinephrine secreted by adrenal medulla, and this is basically during a emergency phase, it's important. So we have thrombin as the right option to this question, right answer to this question. The next is very important question. If adenine makes 30% of the DNA, what is the proportion of the compound which is done, what is the proportion by thymine, guanine and cytosine? So A and T bond together, G and C bond together. Clear? So if A is 30%, T would also be 30%. Now 100 minus A plus T would give you C and G. So 100 minus 60 would be 40. And therefore, this 40 would make G and C, which is guanine and cytokinin. So each of those 20-20. So the correct option would be 30, 20 and 20. So this would become the right answer for this question. I hope this is clear. The next question says that which of the following statement wrongly represents the nature of smooth muscle cells? Now, smooth muscle cells, we have to understand that these are present on the walls of the blood vessels. They have no striations. They are involuntary. Very, very important. Now, it is incorrect that the communication is done through intercalated discs. So, this is the incorrect option. Smooth muscles are non-striated and they are involuntary, as we already mentioned here. So they are involuntary, non-striated and present in the inner lining of the internal organs, blood vessels, alimentary canal, gut and all those. So 4 is the incorrect option here. Clear? The next question we have is regarding sphincter of Oddi. Sphincter of Oddi is present where? So what happens is we have the bile duct. We have already done this in our class on digestive systems. We have the bile duct and the pancreatic duct. Both of these ducts join and drain into a common duct, which is the hepatopancreatic duct, and this hepatopancreatic duct is controlled by the sphincter, which is the sphincter of Oddi, which merges with finally the duodenum. So we have 3 as the right option. So bile duct and duodenum combining into a common hepatic pancreatic duct, and this duct has a guard, which is the sphincter of Oddi, and which connects to the duodenum. Clear? Then we have already discussed in our previous lectures where we have the ileocaseal junction. So this is the junction where we have the ileum and the caseum, as the name suggests, and gastroesophageal junction, again it is between the esophagus and the stomach, so it is called as gastroesophagus junction. Clear? So the next question talks about the blood group of a person who has AB blood group. So AB blood groups are universal acceptors or universal recipients. O is considered as a universal donor, that we very well know. So in AB, what would be the right option? AB, which is the universal recipient, would have absence of antibodies, anti-A and anti-B in the plasma. That means they lack anti-A and anti-B in the plasma. That means AB can accept blood from all A, B, O and AB, but they can provide blood to only AB, and they can accept blood from all groups because they lack antibodies in their blood. So lack of antibodies in the blood is the right option here, and therefore they are called as universal recipients. I repeat again, and that's the reason reason for it, they are called as universal recipient. So these were some of the most tricky questions that we have picked up from the sections on zoology. We would be discussing the section on botany and chemistry in a while, so stay tuned, and the detailed solutions for each of the questions are available at Doorstep Tutor along with the study material and guidance. Wish you a very good luck. In case you have any questions or any concerns, feel free to contact us on our number. Wish you a very good luck.